We are in the third week of August. That means training camp is underway. That means we are about 3 weeks from the NFL kicking off. The Chiefs will be at 22% capacity for their home opener against the Texans coming up on September 10th. So that's fun. That will be kind of interesting to see what Arrowhead Stadium being a quarter full looks like. This is the Good Old Football Podcast. The unfortunate thing about it being the third week of August is that also means training camp is underway, and that's nice, but that also means injuries are already happening. On Monday, we saw A.J. Green have to leave the field. It seems to just be a hamstring, but it's now Tuesday morning, and he's not practicing today. It's one of those things where it just kind of crushes your soul before your soul has a chance to develop and do whatever it is souls do that make them happy during football season. This is why I said all off season, and why a lot of people said you cannot sign injury-prone players like A.J. Green to long-term contracts. And I obviously have nothing against A.J. Green. We all know he's great when he's on the field. But look, you can be a fan of a team or a player, as I am of the Bengals and A.J. Green, and still be realistic about it. You didn't want to give this guy top 5, top 10 receiver money when he's not played a full season. He's played one full season in, the last 4? This is why you can't give guys who are hurt all the time long-term contracts, especially when you've already got money tied up in Tyler Boyd. You just drafted T. Higgins with the 33rd overall pick, and I love A.J. Green. He's the only NFL player whose jersey I currently own. He will be the last I ever own because I don't believe in wearing jerseys of people who are younger than you, and I really don't believe in wearing jerseys at all unless it's like a super throwback, but that's a different discussion for a different day. The point is, I think the world of A.J. Green. But this is kind of what he is, right? And it's not his fault. He's only 31, 32 now, I think. It's not his fault that he has an incredibly athletic body that just seems to land in awkward positions because of the incredibly athletic things he can do. And it's just at this point kind of to the point where if you're a Bengals fan, you just kind of have to realize that it might be over. He had some amazing years. He did some incredible things and made Andy Dalton a quarterback that could get you to the playoffs. He almost made the game-winning catch against the Steelers in 2015. I can't even talk about it. But at some point, you have to realize maybe it's time to move on from certain guys. And I'm not saying the Bengals should cut him before training camp, but if he only plays 6 or 8 games this year, we got to move on. It's what you got to do. We get too pumped off about things in the offseason. That's one thing that I do love about training camp is everyone gets pumped. They see their new quarterback connecting with, and the Bengals are guilty of this. They see Joe Burrow throwing to an uncovered Tyler Boyd in practice, and they get all excited. We see this in Tampa with Tom Brady. He's throwing passes to Mike Evans. You got to be honest with yourself when you're watching these things. And you got to be honest with yourself when you have a star player who you love and admire and is an all-time guy in your franchise. You've got to be honest with yourself when you know probably best for the overall product to go ahead and move along. And this is hard not only on the Bengals. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying get rid of A.J. Green right now. I'm saying you give him his franchise money, but if these injuries continue to pile up and he can't play more than 6, 8, 10 games this season, it's time to move on. And it's hard because look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow right now, if you've got a healthy A.J. Green, a healthy Tyler Boyd, and a healthy T. Higgins, which Boyd and Higgins seem to be fine, what a start it could be. What a pile of weapons for Joe Burrow to start with. But on the other hand, if he spends all this time throwing to A.J. Green and practicing in training camp and then doesn't know if he's actually going to be on the field on Sundays, is that really good? Is that a good thing for the development of a rookie quarterback? I just can't hold my breath on A.J. Green any longer. And again, no one likes him more than me. I just got to be honest with myself. I've got to be honest that this may be the beginning. Well, it's past the beginning. This may be the middle or the end of A.J. Green in Cincinnati. This is why they drafted T. Higgins 33rd overall, because they know that it has not looked good for him the past 3-4 years. So we'll see what happens. You look at the AFC North. Last year they had to go without A.J. Green, without Ben Roethlisberger, without Antonio Brown. That's a banged-up division. Big Ben's back this year. We'll talk about the Steelers in a minute. We'll talk about a little bit of everything in the minute. in a minute, in the minute, within the minutes. All of the minutes are going to happen here on the Good Old Football Podcast. I am your host, Matt Edwards. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Edwards, where there's a big discussion about Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting a grand slam on a 3-0 pitch today. Fun things like that are why we get on the internet and argue with strangers. It's good to be back into sports in the United States of America. As I promised last week, we will continue to talk about big topics, but we will also talk about gambling, betting, putting it all on the line, and that continues this week as I discuss and give my I don't know about expert. I give my best. I do my best. I try my best as we talk about your best bets, in my opinion, for NFL, AFC, and NFC division winners in 2020. Get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I'm going to do. We are going to give you 3 teams in the AFC we like based on their value to win their respective divisions. We will do the same for the NFC, starting in the AFC with the Pittsburgh Steelers. At plus 375, $100 could net you $375 if you were to place that bet on Bovada. Look, Pittsburgh went 8-8 last year without Ben Roethlisberger. They had Mason Rudolph running around, nearly getting his head taken off in prime time, and they still managed to go 8-8. People forget 2 years ago, they went 13-3. Roethlisberger's not that old. He's still under 40, which is still prime years for quarterbacks. I like Pittsburgh. Again, Baltimore clearly going to be the favorite to win this division, but that value, plus 375, not a bad bet in my opinion. Up next, a little bit more of a stretch, the Miami Dolphins at plus 850. Sure, Buffalo, the favorite to win the division, but look at what happens when you combine inexperience with expectations. It's a tough road to navigate, and that's what the Buffalo Bills, the favorites, are looking at. You saw what happened to Cleveland last year, right? The Dolphins at plus 850. We know the Patriots are kind of going to be on the fence. We know the Jets are going to be awful. Miami went 4-4 the second half of the season. They seem to like Brian Flores, their second-year head coach. Again, great value at plus 850. That division could fall apart in a hurry, and you might be looking at a situation where 9-7 or 10-6 could win it. And finally, maybe the easiest of the bunch in my opinion, the Texans at plus 325. I mean, they've won the division 4 of the last 5 seasons. I get that Indianapolis has an excellent roster, but I'm not sold, as you all know, on Phillip Rivers being an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett. The Titans, sure, finished very strong last year. Everyone likes them, but again, value plus 325. Bill O'Brien seems to know how to do things right in the regular season. Postseason, a little different story, but in the regular season, Bill O'Brien knows how to figure it out. Those are my AFC teams. Steelers at plus 375, Dolphins at plus 850, and the Texans at plus 325. Meanwhile, in the NFC, I mean, maybe the one I like most, maybe out of this whole list, based on value, is the Los Angeles Rams at plus 600. They were 9-7 last year, coming off a 13-3 NFC title-winning season. This year, they get a third-place schedule, and last year, that 9-7 season, they're 2 field goals away from being 11-5. I know the division is tough, but at plus 600, I think the Rams have every bit as good a shot as Seattle or San Francisco does to win that division. But instead, they're right there with the Cardinals, who I don't like as much, at plus 600. Give me the Rams at plus 600. The other two, you're going to like these ones. They both come out of the NFC East. First up, it's the Giants at plus 1,000. I mean, come on, you're telling me a $10 bet can win you $100? All you need is Carson Wentz to get injured. We hope he doesn't, but that seems to happen. And at that point, you really just have to take on Dallas. Daniel Jones going to be better in year 2, I think. He's better than people thought last year. Everyone wanted to stick with their narrative that he shouldn't have been a top 10 draft pick to begin with. Giants at plus 1,000. Great value in that division. And then the other one, quite a stretch, but hear me out. The Washington football team, plus 1,600. $100 to win 1,600. Lay it down. Ron Rivera. You got 3 new head coaches in that division. You've got Ron Rivera, probably the best one, right? Mike McCarthy down in Dallas, and Joe Judge up with the New York Football Giants. I like Ron Rivera in there. Dwayne Haskins going to be on a short leash. I don't think he should, but I think he will be. And next up is Alex Smith, who you could make an argument is the best quarterback in the NFC East. Washington plus 1,600. Again, of course it's a long shot, but I think that's really good value when you look at the potential head coach quarterback combination of Ron Rivera and one Alex Smith. Of course, I don't like either team to win that division, but it's good value. So those are my teams in the NFC. The Los Angeles Rams, the New York Giants at plus 1,000, Washington at plus 1,600. The Rams, by the way, plus 600. So take those with you. Do what you want with them. The biggest favorite of the bunch is the Kansas City Chiefs, and all of the NFL, I should say, the biggest favorite to win their division. The Kansas City Chiefs at minus 350. So on one hand, you look at it this way, $100 only wins you $28. They're the heaviest favorite. But in my opinion, if you put that money down, you're essentially betting on Patrick Mahomes to stay healthy. If Mahomes plays 16 games, Kansas City's winning that division. You just have to bet a lot of money to make a lot of money. But you can also look on it, $100 down, get you $28, plus you get your 100. That's a 28% return if Mahomes stays healthy. The biggest long shots to win their divisions in the NFL this season. This is according to Bovada. All these numbers are according to Bovada. Biggest long shots are the Panthers and Jaguars at plus 2,000. I mean, that kind of seems unfair to Carolina, but with the Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's going to be tough for anyone other than those two Hall of Fame quarterbacks to win that division. So there you have it. That's my gambling segment for the week. It does feel weird to be at this point. I mean, you look at August 18th is the day I'm recording this on. We don't have a preseason going on, which I'm a big preseason nerd. I like watching the later round draft picks and seeing what they do. Fortunately, with the hockey playoffs and the NBA playoffs starting, I've got something else to do. And I've been watching those Avengers movies. I'll tell you what, I know I'm behind schedule, but those are some good movies. 2.5 down, 1.5 to go. Then I got the whole Marvel universe to go. Because we don't have an NFL preseason, I do love the preseason. It's when the I shouldn't pick on the Browns again, but it is when the Browns fans get all excited and tell you they got a real shot this year. And look, maybe this year they do. Anytime you've got a slightly above average quarterback with a first-year head coach playing in a division with a reigning MVP and a future Hall of Fame quarterback, you know good things are coming your way. What if we don't play football again for like a really long time for some reason? The last thing the Browns did was lose to the 1-14 Cincinnati Bengals. What if that were to happen? We will play football. We told you about that last week. It feels good. I'll tell you the other team, they didn't make the top 6, but they were at 7 there. The Chicago Bears at plus 400. I don't hate them to win the division. Again, not good value because you still have to go up against the Vikings. You have to go up against Aaron Rodgers, but you know Aaron Rodgers is cranky with everything going on in Green Bay with Jordan Love being drafted. The football gods just seem to hate Minnesota, so you've always kind of got that going for you if you're one of the other teams in the NFC North. But the Bears at plus 400, not a great bet, but not a bad one either. Not a bad one either. All right, we are closing in on the NFL season getting underway, so we are going to keep at it. Of course, we are now doing episodes every week. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Tell a friend. Be like, hey, this guy is making some claims. You want to make some bets? Get in there and do it. See what happens. Don't bet all your money, just a little bit. I'm going for that Rams one today. I don't know what I'm going to bet on it yet, but the Rams at plus 600 is just too good to pass up. All right, rate and subscribe if you can. If you don't want to subscribe and get it every week, just throw a rating on there. I saw a bunch of ratings. I was happy to see that. Appreciate you guys doing that. And yeah, we're getting after it. So appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, I'm on Twitter at Matt Edwards. And this is a Good Old Football Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you back here next Tuesday.